And so in this situation, we're going to have scenario number 3, where the average total cost curve is here, but the average variable cost curve is here. Let's label average variable, average total cost. And now we ask ourselves what's going on. Again, we look to the determination of profitability, average revenue minus average cost. Average revenue minus average cost. Well, for Q hat, we have average total cost here. And average revenue is again the same place because we haven't moved the demand curve yet. And price equals average revenue equals market revenue. So the average revenue is here, average total cost. We look here, average cost is greater than average revenue. So this firm has negative economic profits, which would be that area. But we observe the following. This is different than scenario number 2, where clearly the average variable cost, the cost of operating on a daily basis, were higher than the revenues we'd receive for operating. In this case, we're losing money, but the variable costs, the average variable costs, are beneath the average revenues. And we need to know how to interpret that. For this firm, interpretation shows us, remember we said that the difference between these two curves was the average fixed costs. So we have this entire area here is average fixed costs, but this segment here between revenues and the variable costs, well, that represents some amount, that portion of average fixed costs that we can pay. This is called contribution or contribution margin, sometimes in accounting. This is the contribution we can make to the fixed costs. We can pay part of the average fixed costs because revenues are above the variable costs. We're stuck here. We're not paying all of the average fixed costs, but we are paying some of it. The way we evaluate this is whether we should work or not work. If we didn't work, what we need to consider is what amount of the average fixed costs would we have to pay, would we be unable to pay? Well, it would be the entire amount, this bracket. If we didn't go to work, we'd have to incur, we wouldn't be able to pay all the fixed costs. Because we do go in and manufacture, we get this much revenue, which is greater than the average variable. So we cover all the variable expenses of salaries and lights and materials that we need. Plus, we have some money left over to contribute to the average fixed costs, although not pay all of them. Can the firm operate like this indefinitely? From a day-to-day basis, because fixed costs are fixed during some indefinite period between the actual payments, maybe annual payments we must make for rent and for insurance and leases. Well, in between, we really don't have to pay that cash. We need to be accumulating cash for those payments so that we can pay them when we next have to. We don't have to. So for some period of time, making a contribution to the average fixed cost is all right. But at the anniversary of these payments, of the contracts, when we do have to make these payments, if we've not gotten up to this point of being able to cover the average fixed cost, we'll be in trouble. So what will this firm do? Again, for the moment, it's okay. In the long run, it can't survive. It'll take a wait and see attitude. It's going to hope that other firms are in similar or perhaps more dire situations, and other firms then will exit. If they exit, what happens? Well, we said before, one of the determinants of supply, number of firms in the market. So it's going to wait and hope that firms exit, and that will push the supply curve to the left. How far? Something like this. Let's say that's S1, this would be our S0 again. And that's going to give us a new equilibrium. We not only need a new equilibrium, but a new marker. New equilibrium here. And that equilibrium will extend all the way out to this point. It will float upwards until finally, we're at a point of the minimum average total cost curve, and average revenues equal average costs, and this firm has 0 economic profits. And again, we're at a point of equilibrium. No firms will enter, no firms will exit. Everything is static, and that's the difference between the short-run equilibrium, it had an equilibrium price, and a long-run equilibrium at which no firms enter or exit. And that's the end of entry, exit, and the analysis of perfect competition.